Imagine this. Someone betrays you. Someone lies to you. Someone wounds you so deeply that your heart feels like it's been ripped apart. At that moment, an intense fire ignites within. Your mind becomes a battlefield, consumed with thoughts of vengeance. How could they do this to me? How do I make them suffer the way I have suffered? Your pulse quickens. Scenarios play out in your head, exposing their wrongdoings, humiliating them, taking something away from them, making them feel your pain. Revenge whispers in your ear like a tempting promise. Strike back, and you will find peace. But pause for a moment. Does revenge truly heal, or does it deepen the wound? We've all been there. The craving for revenge is instinctive. It feels like justice. It feels like taking back control. But if revenge truly worked, if it truly brought peace, then why do those who seek it often remain trapped in suffering? Why does the bitterness linger even after the act of retaliation? Buddhism and Zen offer a different path, one that goes against our immediate impulses but leads to true freedom. Instead of returning harm for harm, these teachings invite us to transcend the cycle entirely. Imagine a revenge so powerful that it doesn't destroy, but liberates. Instead of obsessing over those who hurt us, we become so successful, so untouchable, so deeply at peace that their actions lose all significance. Instead of being prisoners of resentment, we rise above. This is the ultimate revenge, not destruction, but self-elevation. And in today's journey, we will explore exactly how to achieve that. We will uncover the wisdom of Zen and Buddhist masters, learn from real-life examples, and reveal the mindset that turns pain into power. But before we begin, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been hurt so deeply that revenge felt like the only way forward? Have you ever wished for the strength to let go? If this resonates with you, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear your story. Also, if you find wisdom in what we explore today, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these teachings. And don't forget to subscribe to Zen Mind Journey so you never miss out on insights that can transform your life. Now let's begin. The poison of holding on to anger. Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. This simple yet profound truth speaks to the destructive nature of anger and resentment. We often believe that by holding onto our pain, by keeping the memory of betrayal alive, we somehow maintain power over those who have wronged us. But in reality, the only person truly suffering is ourselves. The psychological trap of resentment. From a psychological perspective, anger is a response to perceived injustice. It triggers the body's fight-or-flight mechanism, releasing cortisol and adrenaline, hormones that prepare us to react. In the short term, anger can feel empowering, even righteous. It gives us a sense of control, a feeling that we are taking a stand. However, when anger is sustained over time, it becomes toxic. Chronic anger has been linked to increased stress, high blood pressure, weakened immune function, and even heart disease. But the most damaging effect is what it does to our mind. Resentment narrows our focus, keeping us mentally trapped in the past. Instead of living in the present, we replay old wounds, reinforcing negative emotions and deepening our suffering. Studies in neuroscience suggest that the more we dwell on anger, the more we strengthen neural pathways that make it easier to feel angry in the future. In other words, the more we hold on to resentment, the harder it becomes to let go. This is why some people carry grudges for years, even decades, without realizing how much their own lives are being consumed by an event that is long over. Mushin, the art of a mind unshackled. In Zen philosophy, the state of Mushin, translated as no mind or empty mind, is the key to true inner freedom. Mushin is not about suppressing emotions, but about not being enslaved by them. It is the ability to experience anger, recognize it, and then let it pass without attachment. Imagine a still lake. When a stone is thrown into it, ripples form, but soon the surface returns to its natural calm. A mind in Mushin is like this lake. Emotions come and go, but they do not leave lasting disturbances. A person in Mushin is not emotionless, nor are they indifferent. They simply do not allow emotions to dictate their actions. They are fully aware of their feelings, but choose their response consciously rather than reacting impulsively. This level of mastery is what makes a person truly powerful. Why an undisturbed mind is uncontrollable. When you let go of anger, you take back control over your own life. But more than that, you become immune to manipulation. People who hold on to resentment are easily provoked. Their emotions can be played against them. They are predictable because their reactions are tied to external triggers. On the other hand, those who practice Mushin remain unshaken. They do not react to insults, criticism, or provocation because they understand that the source of their peace comes from within, not from external circumstances. Consider a person who is deeply angered by a past betrayal. Every time they hear the name of their betrayer, their heart races, their mind floods with emotions, and they feel an uncontrollable urge to react. Now, imagine another person who has experienced the same betrayal but has cultivated Mushin. When they hear the name, they remain calm. The past no longer controls them. The person who once hurt them has lost all power over their emotions. This is true freedom. Not reacting doesn't mean you condone the wrongdoing. It means you refuse to let it define you. The path to liberation. So how does one cultivate Mushin and release anger? 1. Recognize that anger is a self-inflicted wound. When you hold on to resentment, you are the one suffering, not the person you resent. The first step to freedom is acknowledging this truth. 2. Shift your perspective. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim, view the experience as a lesson. What did it teach you? How has it made you wiser? 3. Practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your emotions without judgment. When anger arises, observe it. See how it affects your body, your thoughts, and your actions. The more you practice awareness, the less power anger will have over you. 4. Detach from the past. What happened is already over. The more you replay it in your mind, the more you suffer. The present moment is all that truly exists. Focus on living it fully. 5. Forgive, not for them, but for yourself. Forgiveness does not mean excusing bad behavior. It means freeing yourself from the prison of resentment. You don't have to reconcile with those who hurt you, but you do have to release the weight of their actions from your heart. A person ruled by anger is a prisoner of their emotions. A person who has mastered their emotions is untouchable. Let go, not for them, but for yourself. Because true strength isn't found in retaliation. It's found in the ability to rise above. A true story of transformation, Nelson Mandela's ultimate revenge. Few stories in modern history demonstrate the power of rising above revenge as profoundly as that of Nelson Mandela. His life was a testament to the idea that true power lies not in retaliation, but in reconciliation, not in destruction, but in transformation. Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years under South Africa's brutal apartheid regime. He endured unimaginable suffering, locked away in a tiny cell, subjected to harsh labor, and cut off from his family and the world. The very system that oppressed him sought to break him, to strip him of his dignity and turn him into a bitter, vengeful man. But they failed. Many in his position would have emerged from prison consumed by rage, ready to take revenge on those who had stolen decades of their life. The pain he endured could have fueled a campaign of retribution. He had every reason to hate, every justification to strike back. But Mandela understood something deeper. Revenge is not power. Revenge keeps you tied to the past. True power is found in breaking the cycle of hatred. Mandela's psychology, overcoming the weight of resentment. To understand the depth of Mandela's wisdom, we must look at the psychology of resentment. Resentment is a mental prison. It keeps the mind locked in past suffering, replaying injustices over and over again. Studies in psychology show that holding on to resentment activates the brain's stress response, releasing cortisol and adrenaline, which can lead to anxiety, high blood pressure, and even heart disease. The more we dwell on our anger, the more deeply it carves itself into our thought patterns, making it harder to let go. But Mandela refused to let resentment define him. During his time in prison, he spent years reflecting on his emotions, confronting his pain, and ultimately choosing to rise above it. Instead of being consumed by hatred, he channeled his suffering into wisdom. He understood that holding on to anger would only continue his oppression, except this time, it would be self-inflicted. Mandela famously said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew that if I did not leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison." This statement reveals an extraordinary truth. Freedom is not just a physical condition. It is a state of mind. If we carry hatred in our hearts, we remain prisoners, no matter where we are. The strength of forgiveness, a power beyond revenge. Many perceive forgiveness as weakness, as though letting go of anger means letting others get away with their wrongdoings. But Mandela's story proves the opposite. Forgiveness is not submission. It is an assertion of ultimate power. When he was finally released from prison in 1990, he did not seek vengeance against those who oppressed him. Instead, he sought unity. He negotiated peace. He worked with the very people who had imprisoned him to build a new South Africa, one where all races could live as equals. This act of forgiveness was not about forgetting the past, but about refusing to let the past dictate the future. He understood that if he chose revenge, South Africa would spiral into endless cycles of violence. Instead, he broke the pattern, proving that true leadership is measured not by how one destroys enemies, but by how one rises above them. His ability to let go of resentment transformed not just his own life, but an entire nation. It allowed South Africa to transition from oppression to democracy without a bloodbath. His decision to forgive, to reconcile, made him one of the most respected leaders in history. Why forgiveness is the greatest strength. Mandela's story teaches us that forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about you. It is about reclaiming your peace, your power, and your freedom. If Mandela had chosen revenge, his legacy would have been different. He might have become just another leader who rose to power on the flames of hatred. But because he chose reconciliation, he became something greater, a symbol of wisdom, peace, and transformation. Consider this: his oppressors, forgotten in the pages of history; his legacy, eternal. The next time you feel the weight of resentment, ask yourself, do I want to be a prisoner of my past, or do I want to rise above it? The choice is yours. The path of the silent warrior. In a distant land, long ago, there lived a brilliant scholar and respected leader. He was admired by many for his wisdom, his kindness, and his unshakable integrity. But among those who stood by his side, there was one who secretly envied him, his closest friend. This friend, blinded by jealousy and ambition, betrayed him in the most ruthless way. He spread false rumors, manipulated powerful figures, and ultimately orchestrated the scholar's downfall. In a matter of weeks, the scholar lost everything: his reputation, his status, his livelihood. The people who once respected him turned their backs, leaving him isolated and disgraced. At first, the scholar was consumed by anger. He lay awake at night, his mind burning with thoughts of revenge. He imagined all the ways he could strike back, expose the betrayer, and reclaim what had been taken from him. The desire for vengeance felt like the only way to restore justice. But deep inside, he knew that dwelling in hatred would only keep him shackled to the past. And then, he remembered the words of his Zen master: "Revenge is for the weak. Rise, and you will win without lifting a finger." These words unsettled him. Was he supposed to simply forgive and forget? Was he supposed to pretend that the betrayal never happened? No, this was not about ignoring the pain. This was about transcending it. From anger to transformation. Instead of allowing anger to consume him, the scholar redirected his energy inward. He realized that revenge would only keep him tied to his betrayer, forcing him to relive the betrayal over and over again. Instead, he chose a different path, one of growth, discipline, and self-mastery. He withdrew from the noise of the world and began focusing on his craft, his knowledge, and his wisdom. Every day, he studied, practiced, and refined his skills. He immersed himself in self-improvement, not to prove anything to his betrayer, but to build a life so strong that no betrayal could ever shake him again. At first, people mocked him. "He has given up," they whispered. "He is broken. He will never reclaim his place." But the scholar remained silent. He knew that the strongest warriors fight their battles without words, without noise, and without seeking approval. The fruits of silent growth. Months turned into years, and slowly, the scholar's dedication bore fruit. He became sharper, wiser, and more resilient. His knowledge deepened, his skills flourished, and most importantly, he achieved an inner peace that could not be disturbed. Where once he had reacted to insults, now he responded with calm indifference. Where once he had wasted energy on resentment, now he channeled it into becoming the best version of himself. And then, something unexpected happened. His betrayer, once smug in his victory, began to notice. At first, the betrayer felt confusion. Why is he not broken? Why is he not fighting back? Why is he becoming stronger instead? The betrayer had expected his victim to be forever bitter, forever trapped in pain. But instead, the scholar was flourishing while he, the betrayer, remained stuck in his own darkness. As time passed, the betrayer began to feel uneasy. He saw how the scholar had risen far beyond the need for revenge, so high that the betrayal no longer even mattered. This is karma in action. The one who harms another becomes trapped in their own web of suffering, while the one who chooses peace and growth rises above it. The true power of rising above. Years later, their paths crossed once more. The scholar, now a man of immense wisdom and success, stood tall, untouched by his past. The betrayer, however, looked weakened, burdened by guilt and regret. The betrayer spoke first, his voice trembling. "I never thought you would make it." The scholar simply smiled and replied, "Neither did I, but I learned that the best revenge is not to destroy my enemies, but to make them irrelevant." And in that moment, the betrayer understood. The one he had sought to destroy had not only survived, but had become untouchable. No apology, no regret, no amount of time could undo the truth that stood before him. Why success is the best revenge. This parable teaches a powerful lesson. Revenge is an illusion, but self-elevation is real. When we are betrayed, our first instinct is to seek retribution. We want to make those who hurt us feel our pain, but in doing so, we keep ourselves chained to them. The best way to defeat your enemies is not by attacking them. It is by becoming so successful, so peaceful, and so far beyond their reach that they realize too late they never had power over you. Let's break down why. 1. Revenge keeps you stuck in the past. The more you plot revenge, the more you remain attached to those who hurt you. True freedom comes when you move forward, leaving them behind. 2. Self-improvement turns pain into power. When you channel pain into growth, you become stronger than before. Instead of being a victim, you transform into someone unshakable. 3. Your success shatters their illusions. Those who betray you expect you to fail, to stay bitter, to crumble. When you rise, their expectations collapse, and they are left powerless. 4. The one who wins is the one who no longer cares. Indifference is the most powerful weapon. When someone no longer has control over your emotions, they have already lost. Not all battles need to be fought with swords or words. The greatest victories are won in silence, through transformation and growth. The silent warrior does not chase revenge. The silent warrior does not seek validation. The silent warrior does not waste energy on those who seek to harm him. He simply rises so high that they no longer matter. And that, in the end, is the greatest revenge of all. Why rising above is the best revenge. Revenge feels instinctive. When someone wrongs us, we want to strike back, to balance the scales, to make them feel what they made us feel. But true power doesn't lie in retaliation, it lies in elevation. The greatest form of revenge is not destruction but transcendence. Let's break down why self-improvement is the ultimate revenge and why rising above those who hurt you is the most powerful response. 1. It breaks the cycle of suffering. When we seek revenge, we often believe we are punishing the other person, but in reality, we are chaining ourselves to them. Every moment spent plotting revenge, every thought dedicated to their downfall, keeps us mentally and emotionally tethered to the past. Psychologists refer to this as rumination, the act of obsessively replaying negative experiences in our minds. Studies show that rumination fuels stress, anxiety, and even depression. It locks us in a mental prison, ensuring that we relive the pain over and over again. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering. When we hold on to anger, we are clutching a burning coal, hoping it will harm someone else. But the only person it truly burns is us. Breaking this cycle means shifting our focus. Instead of asking, "How do I make them suffer?" we should ask, "How do I make myself stronger?" When we let go of revenge and turn our attention inward, we reclaim our peace and free ourselves from suffering. True victory is not in making them hurt. It is in making their actions powerless over you. 2. It restores power to you. When someone wrongs us, they often expect a reaction, anger, sadness, retaliation. They thrive on knowing that they have disturbed our peace. But when we choose to rise instead of react, we take back our power. Think about it. When you dwell on resentment, who is controlling your mind? Not you. The person who hurt you still holds power over your emotions. Every moment you spend angry at them is a moment they continue to influence your life. But when you shift your energy toward growth and success, they become irrelevant. They expect you to be bitter. They expect you to be stuck. But when you refuse to give them that satisfaction, they lose control over you. There is no greater revenge than showing them that their actions did not break you, but made you stronger. 3. It elevates you to a higher state. A mind consumed by revenge is a restless, tormented mind. It is caught in a cycle of anger, constantly searching for ways to retaliate, trapped in the energy of the past. But when we focus on growth, wisdom, and self-improvement, we transcend that lower state of being. Zen philosophy teaches the concept of mushin, a state of no mind, free from attachment, fear, and resentment. A person in mushin is untouchable. They are not easily provoked. They are not controlled by the past. They remain calm, centered, and deeply at peace. This is where true power lies. The moment you become indifferent to those who try to harm you, you become beyond their reach. The one who cannot be disturbed cannot be controlled. By choosing to evolve rather than retaliate, you reach a higher state of being, one where no one has power over you but yourself. 4. It creates a life beyond their reach. Think about the most powerful, successful, and wise people in history. Do they waste time seeking revenge? No, they do not chase their enemies. They do not dwell in bitterness. They channel their energy into becoming so great, so untouchable, that those who once wronged them fade into insignificance. Consider Oprah Winfrey, who overcame childhood trauma and discrimination to build an empire. Did she waste energy seeking revenge on those who mistreated her? No. She rose so high that their actions no longer mattered. Consider Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison yet chose reconciliation over revenge. If he had sought to punish those who oppressed him, his legacy would have been different. Instead, he focused on building something greater, a new nation founded on peace. Their success was their greatest revenge. The lesson is clear. The best way to make those who hurt you irrelevant is to build a life they can no longer touch. True revenge is mastery over yourself. Revenge is not about making someone else suffer. It is about ensuring that you no longer suffer because of them. When you break the cycle of suffering, you free yourself. When you take back your power, they lose control over you. When you elevate your mind, you become untouchable. When you create a life beyond their reach, their actions become insignificant. The greatest revenge is not destruction. It is becoming so powerful that they no longer exist in your world. The secret weapon, indifference. The final and greatest revenge is not hatred. It is not destruction. It is not even success. It is indifference. When someone wrongs you, they expect an emotional reaction: anger, pain, resentment. They expect you to think about them, to waste energy on them, to let their actions define a part of your life. They want to occupy space in your mind. But what happens when you deny them that power? What happens when their actions become so insignificant to you that they fade into irrelevance? That is when you deliver the most devastating blow. Because the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. Why indifference is the ultimate power? Indifference is often misunderstood. Some believe that it means being cold, unfeeling, or emotionally numb. But that is apathy, not indifference. Apathy is a lack of care about everything. It is disengagement from life itself. But indifference is selective disengagement. It is a conscious choice to no longer allow something or someone to affect you. Indifference is not the absence of emotion. It is the presence of emotional control. A truly indifferent person is not weak. They are free. They do not suppress their feelings, they master them. They acknowledge their emotions, process them, and then let go. And when they do, they reclaim absolute power over their own lives. This is why indifference is feared. It renders those who tried to hurt you powerless. Indifference robs your enemies of control. When someone harms you, their ultimate goal, whether conscious or not, is to affect you. Even if their actions seem passive, their power over you exists only if you react. Think about it. If someone insults you and you respond with anger, they have won. They have provoked you. If someone betrays you and you become obsessed with revenge, they have won. They have trapped you in the past. If someone tries to ruin your reputation and you spend your time proving them wrong, they have won. They have made you center your life around them. But if you move on, if you rise, if you stop giving them even a thought, they lose. This is why indifference is so powerful. It strips away the illusion of control. It shows them, without words, that they no longer matter. And there is no greater punishment for an egotistical person than to realize they are irrelevant in your life. The indifference of the most powerful people. Throughout history, the most successful individuals have demonstrated one thing in common. They do not waste energy on those who seek to bring them down. 1. Oprah Winfrey was told she was unfit for television. She could have fought back, spent years trying to prove her critics wrong. Instead, she ignored them and built an empire. Now, those critics are forgotten. She is not. 2. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. He could have emerged seeking revenge on his oppressors. Instead, he chose reconciliation. He understood that true power was not in retaliation but in moving forward. 3. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and other billionaires are constantly attacked by the media, competitors, and even former employees. Do they waste time addressing every insult? No. They stay focused on their vision. Their success outgrows the noise. The pattern is clear. Powerful people do not seek revenge. They make their enemies irrelevant. How to cultivate indifference. Indifference is a skill. It does not happen overnight, especially when you have been deeply hurt. But it can be developed through practice. 1. Detach from emotional triggers. Recognize that your reaction is what gives power to the person who hurt you. When you feel anger or resentment rising, pause. Ask yourself, do they deserve my energy? The answer is almost always no. 2. Redirect your focus. Every minute spent thinking about them is a minute stolen from your future. Shift your energy into building yourself, your goals, your happiness. Nothing destroys an enemy more than watching you thrive while they become irrelevant. 3. Practice emotional neutrality. When someone insults or criticizes you, learn to respond with silence or calm indifference. A reaction is what they want. Denying them that reaction is your greatest weapon. 4. Live by the 5-year rule. Ask yourself, will this person or event matter in 5 years? If the answer is no, then why should it matter today? 5. Remember, you win by not playing their game. Some battles are not worth fighting. Some people are not worth engaging with. Indifference removes you from the battlefield entirely. The final blow, indifference, is the death of their power. Revenge keeps you chained to the past. Hatred keeps you emotionally invested in them. But indifference frees you completely. Imagine your enemy standing before you, waiting for a reaction. They expect your anger, your pain, your need for validation. Now imagine looking right past them, like they do not even exist. That moment, when they realize they no longer matter to you, is the moment you have truly won. That is the secret weapon of indifference. Life is full of moments that test our strength. Some people will betray us. Some will hurt us. Some will try to bring us down. But in the end, what truly defines us is not what happens to us. It is how we choose to respond. You have 2 choices. You can let resentment consume you, wasting precious time and energy on people who do not deserve it. You can dwell on the past, replaying every betrayal, letting anger shape your future. You can live with the illusion that revenge will bring satisfaction, only to realize that it traps you in the very pain you wish to escape. Or, you can rise. You can break free from the chains of the past. You can channel your energy into self-mastery, success, and peace. You can become so powerful, so untouchable, that those who once hurt you no longer exist in your reality. Because the greatest revenge is not destruction, it is irrelevance. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the people who tried to break you no longer occupy your mind. Imagine achieving so much, growing so far beyond them, that their actions become meaningless. Imagine living a life so full, so successful, so at peace that nothing from your past can disturb it. That is true power. That is real victory. So, ask yourself today, will you let the past control you, or will you rise above it? Will you remain shackled to those who wronged you, or will you step into a future where they no longer have a place? The choice is yours. If this message resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever let go of something that once consumed you? How did it change your life? And if you found value in today's journey, don't forget to like this video. It helps more people discover these powerful teachings. If you haven't already, subscribe to Zen Mind Journey and turn on notifications so you never miss an insight that could transform your perspective. Remember, you don't have to fight battles to win. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, stronger, wiser, and completely untouchable. I'll see you in the next video. Stay mindful, stay at peace, and keep rising.